Hi everyone, it's Rana Al Husseini. On today's episode on Through Your Eyes, we have Wujdan Ahmad here, who is kind of going to talk a little bit about her journey, what she does and who she is. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Rona. I really appreciate this. I'm excited to tell my story, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are and where you come from.
Okay, my name is Wujdan Ahmad. I am originally from Eritrea, East Africa. My parents are both born and raised in Eritrea. I was actually born in Baghdad, Iraq. We moved to the U.S. when I was 8 years old. I always say 2.5 languages, because I speak Arabic, English, and then I speak some Tigray, which is a tribal Eritrean language. I understand it fully, but when I reply to my parents, I reply in either Arabic or English. Mm-hmm. That's my 2.5. And then I am a college graduate. I graduated from Slippery Rock University with a criminology and criminal justice degree. And I am currently a case manager for Stairways Behavioral Health. We are mental health specialists.
So I noticed the way you pronounced your name, and this is the one thing that I kind of always have, I'm conflicted about because, my name is Rana, but it's pronounced Rana. Mm-hmm. So how is your name properly pronounced if you were speaking to another Arabic speaker, for example?
Wujdan.
Wujdan what?
Wujdan Ahmad.
Okay. I feel like there's so much power to, actually speaking and saying your name for what it is, and,
I definitely agree with you. I'll say Wujdan. Everyone's like, I can't say that. Can you give me? I'm like, all right, call me with my nickname. It's Wooji. So everyone either called me Wooji, and then sometimes they butcher that. So I'm like, W something. But yeah, there is definitely power to a name. It's your first identity. It's a story behind it. Wajdan means consciousness in Arabic. So for me, it is. I always try to be mindful. I always I guess live up to my name. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. The name is important to be proud of it, and.
So tell me a little bit more about your family life. You mentioned where you came from. How many siblings you have.
So there's 6 of us. We all have W names, so we call each other Team 6W. Everyone's in the U.S., so we got majority in Erie. 4 of us are in Erie, 2 are in Harrisburg area.
So when did you first come to the United States?
So that was in 2001. And then I started school in Jordan because I was born in Iraq, then we moved to Jordan, and then we moved to the U.S., and then, so 2001 in Pittsburgh before moving to Erie. It was a challenge, learning a whole new language, different culture completely and everything, but our parents always instilled on us the importance of education, why they want us to have the opportunities that they did not have and everything. So all of us were either school, work, businesses. That's our thing. We just love that.
And how old were you then when you came here in 2001?
I was 8 years old.
Wow.
A week before my 8th birthday.
That's awesome. So you had to go through all of, elementary, middle school, and
everything basically here, the majority of it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you said you work now in the mental health field. Mm-hmm. How did you choose that? How did you get there?
So with being an immigrant, I guess, there is a lot of unspoken trauma in families and everything, learning escaping war first and foremost, starting from scratch, learning a whole new culture and everything. And there's ways where we had to learn to heal, to cope, to move on. And for me, it's a passion of mine to help people who do deal with mental health issues, particularly PTSD. Currently, we do have a huge Syrian clientele. And then, in general, it's something I've studied too, not criminology and criminal justice, but I also started as a psych major. Mm-hmm. So that's something I've always been passionate about. I just, I felt like I have a great support system, and I felt being in this field, you learn that not so many people have that support. So I wanted to be there for people who need it. And yeah.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit more about your struggle, like, do you have specific times where you think back and it just kind of like makes your stomach hurt, like different stuff like?
I still, like I still have a fear of guns, and I think that relates back to living in Iraq, where it was very common that you just hear gunshots often and everything, at least the time that we were living there. So till it took me, I guess, years to get over that fear. I think 2019 might have been when I went to the gun range with my brother. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get over this fear. I'm going to, try. And I did it. And that's crazy for me because for years that's always been a fear of mine. I guess that's a childhood trauma. But yeah, so it's things like that. I guess that's one example. But,
And, being a woman of color and, that language barrier and everything like that, how has it been? How does it feel, going to the world today, knowing all of that?
Yeah, it's hard because at times you don't know where you belong. Like, am I African? Am I Arab? Am I, American? So, with new Americans, it's really tough knowing, like, finding out where you belong in the world and things like that, finding out what your cultural identity is, I guess, and everything. But I have a great support system, and it makes it easier to navigate things and everything. So yes, you would face discrimination. Yes, you would face certain things, but you gotta push through. There were times, like for me personally, I'm okay with handling that. Again, I work in a field where I see clients that deal with things like that, and it's okay. Like I help them navigate through it. But for me, a personal example was a few years ago. Like my mother still has limited English. So with her, we strictly talk Arabic with her. And I remember one time we were at the store, and my mom was talking to me, and a guy would just walk by us like, speak English, this is America, and things like that. And you see this stuff on the news, you see this stuff, you don't expect it, I guess, to happen to you. I did reply to him in English, telling him to mind his own business and things like that. And he just looked shocked and walked away. I guess he assumed none of us, like, we both don't know English, or I don't know what he assumed and stuff. Or like, oh, they can speak English, they can defend themselves. Like, yeah. Like, yeah. But it's the thing is that people don't get is like, that I wish more people understood, I should say, is that the United States is made up of immigrants. It's the land of opportunities for everyone. Everyone belongs here, honestly, and we don't, it's not just about facing stuff like that here. We faced that in Jordan too, before coming to the U.S. because in Jordan there were instances where it's like, you're an African, you're not Jordanian, you don't belong here. There were issues like that in school. I was in first grade when, and it's gonna sound like I'm like complaining about something minor, but again, when you're in the first grade, you don't expect to be exposed to discrimination or anything. But I remember when our report cards and everything came back, the teacher told my mother that my scores put me in the first rank, but they had to bump me second because I'm not Jordanian, so they're not allowed to put a non-Jordanian first. So it's things like that, like that you learn about later on, and you're like, what, you face things like that as a child? Like, who does that to a child? But that's the world in general. It's not a U.S. problem. Only it's everywhere, but it's how you deal with it. You come out stronger from it and not let things like that hinder you, and sure as heck not let things like that stop you from moving forward, from growing.
And so how does it feel to kind of experience that with your mother, knowing that she can't really respond in that situation due to her limited English?
I was angry. First and foremost, I'm very defensive. My mother, I love my parents to death. They've sacrificed so much for us, you know. Yes, she may not speak English, but she can school you in Arabic. But like, she's an amazing woman. She's been through hell and back to try to get us to where we are. So I would bow down to my mother 100%. So that hurt me because that's, again, my mother does not deserve that. And then at the same time, I'm happy I was there with her. I am glad I was there with her. Imagine the other immigrants or any other person that does not speak the language, that have no one there for them to defend them, that have no one to stand up for them. I can't imagine what they're going through, you know, what they face. But yeah, it was not a pleasant experience by any means. But.
And how has your faith been? Like, how have your parents contributed to your faith? And, like, in those times of struggle, like, what do you turn to?
Oh, definitely. I am from a Muslim family. That's the one thing they're always saying, like, even with your busy life, you still don't forget your prayers and everything and stuff like that. They're just the cutest. But faith is a strong thing for me. Like, it's behind everything I do. I always have to thank God first and foremost for any opportunity I'm given. Thank God for getting through things we've been through and coming out stronger because of it. And yeah, faith is an important part of my life.
So tell me a little bit more about your job and, you know, the cases you work with.
Okay, so the job title is a blended case manager. So we work with clientele who are involved in mental health services. So in order to be in the BCM, Blended Case Management Program, you have to at least go to therapy. You have to at least be involved with outpatient mental health service, regardless of where it's at, regardless of what program it is. And then what we do is we help those individuals who are hindered by their mental health. So we help them with different aspects of their life: housing, income benefits, mental health, medical. We help them with linking to all these resources that are available to them, and basically help them be as independent as possible. So that's I love it.
And the people, like, you're working specifically with immigrants?
Both immigrants and non.
Okay.
Yep.
And how open are these people to, like, help and mental health, even the whole idea of mental health, because usually there's a big stigma around it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do they take that when you guys begin talking to them about it and therapy and everything like that?
So definitely is a stigma about mental health because it's, specifically in other countries, it's not a lot of people are willing to talk about their mental health. Not a lot of people are ready to face that truth that they need help. So it's just like, astaghfirullah, or, you know, God forbid, like, that's like, no, there's a lot of people would say there's no such thing, you just have to pray about it and it'll go away and stuff like that, and they don't want to face these actual issues and things like that. But I'm glad when a lot of them that came here and everything, they realized that their mental health should be prioritized. They realize that a lot of the things they don't understand or don't know what to work on or how to work on it, most times it's not the language barrier, because there's interpreters and all that for that. It's not the language barrier. It's sometimes the mental health, their trauma, their stories that basically control their life. And so we find ways to help them, like, navigate through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In what areas do you feel like you guys most struggle? Like, do you feel like it takes a toll on you?
Mainly, if it's a case that has to do with homelessness, I would say that is the toughest thing, because whereas there is a lot of resources, there definitely could be more resources. There could be more shelters. There could be more available than what is out there. So I'd say that might be the toughest part of the job.
Mm-hmm. So going back to when you talked about your parents, you kind of said, you know, they're your rock and everything like that. So if they were both sitting in this room right now, what are a few things you'd have to say to them?
Oh my goodness. I love you, Mama and Baba. I love you guys so much. I appreciate everything you've done for us. I appreciate you bringing us to this country. I appreciate you working super hard to get us through school, to get us through everything. They've worked 2-3 jobs just to get us to where we are, you know. So I could give back every day and it would not be enough. Like, I don't know how to ever repay my parents for, I'm about to cry, for, I swear I can't, but I can never repay my parents for all that they've done for us. They're just amazing. And my siblings too, they're my first friends. So we grow up in a house full of 5 other kids. You grow up and they're your best friends. So I love you guys to death. Wa'il wala wafi washti and wamid. And then, but yeah.
I need you to say all those names again.
Okay, so
Fully.
I'm going to say from oldest to youngest. I'm second to last. So it's Wa'il wala wafi wajdi wujdan wamid. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So Team 6W.
As we would say, Allah khaliyum, which means, you know, God protect them.
Yeah, Allah yahfazik. Amin ya Rab. Jaman ya Rab.